here to support you.
From the foothills of the Sierra Nevada, a new hero will emerge. One who is ready. One who makes sure their friends and family are set. And has the power to go at a moment's notice. This fire season, you're the hero. We are Ready Nevada County.
Nevada County has a new tool to make evacuations safer and more efficient in the event of an emergency. This new tool is called Zone Haven, and we need you to know your zone.
In order to know your zone, you need to go to community.zonehaven.com, type in your address. Once your address populates in the pop-up window, take that information and write down the zone that is given to you where you know you'll find it in case of emergency.
Zone Haven and knowing your zone does not replace Nixle and/or Code Red. It actually supplements them, and it makes those tools more powerful because you'll know what zones are being evacuated or which ones are being placed on advisory. And as a result, you won't have to do anything else other than listen to those messages and know if it's time to go.
Even if you don't have internet, this could be done by word of mouth, it can be done by radio, or it could be us driving down the street, so please know your zone.
From Truckee to Lake of the Pines, from Chicago Park to Spenceville, every single square mile of Nevada County has a zone. And having a zone that you know for your neighborhood is going to help you save time to be able to evacuate and keep you and your family safe.
Ready Nevada County is an education campaign designed to help the public have successful outcomes during emergency events. We really focus on a whole host of disasters or emergency events. We want to have a broad spectrum. We want to be prepared for anything, but really we focus a lot on wildfire because we know that's one of the most likely events to happen in Nevada County.
Ready, Set, Go is really built around the wildfire premise to prepare residents to be ready before an event, to move into the set posture when there's a red flag or a fire is near you, and then to go when it's time to go.
Essentially, in its simplest form, it's a 3-tiered community emergency preparedness plan.
I have lived in this house, which we built, my husband and I, 26 years ago now, actually. We selected the hardy plank, the concrete siding, and also the metal roof. Then when we moved up here and heard about the 49er fire, that's when we started to say, wow, this really is even more important than we first realized.
So the 49er fire is one of the most historic fires in Nevada County's history. They figured it changed the laws of the state of California that said this is how you have to protect your home. That came out of Nevada County.
Steve Eubanks came from the Fire Safe Council, and the main thing we needed to pay attention to was the ladder fuels. Planting has been removed from the edges of the house so that it does not touch the house. It was an incredible service from the Fire Safe Council to come out and spend a couple of hours going through this property.
So the ready phase is when there's no immediate threat to you and your family. This is the time when you should be doing education and planning, whether that be training, educating yourself, or accumulating equipment, hardening your home, creating defensible space.
Defensible space is really all about creating a buffer zone between your house and flammable vegetation. We really focus on defensible space around the home, that first 100 feet, but also around the roadway too. Another aspect of the ready phase is hardening the home, and really what that means is making your home more resilient to wildfire.
That's going to be putting the fine-grained mesh around the vents of your home so that embers won't get under your house or into the eaves of your house. That's going to be using non-combustible materials on your deck and around your home. So when an ember storm comes through, it's not going to ignite your home itself.
I currently live here in Grass Valley.
Thank you. I now call this meeting to order at 1:30 p.m. I'm going to take the roll, please. Can you please signal that you're present? Commissioner Garst?
Present.
Commissioner McAteer?
Present.
And Chair Millman?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I think our first item is public comment. So if anybody has any comments on anything that is not on today's agenda, this is the time, and you get 3 minutes for that. If you are interested, go ahead and approach the microphone. Okay, no takers today, so we're going to close that part of the public comment. I like my gavel. Okay, so let's see. Moving on, we have no commission business. And on consent items, we have the meeting minutes for 4 of the past meetings.
I'll move adoption.
I'll second. Okay, if you could take the vote on that, please.
How do you vote? Commissioner Garst?
Yes.
Commissioner McAteer?
Yes.
And Chair Millman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that part is unanimous. So now we are moving on to the public hearing. So who do we have in charge of this today?
Hi, I'm Alina Church. I am an assistant planner here, going to be presenting this project today, and happy to be here and present to you 3, and happy to meet you as well. All right, I'll go ahead and just get started then. So this is the Hodgson Forest to Timberland Production Zone rezone project near Wilderness Road in Nevada City in front of the Planning Commission for review today. This application is to amend zoning district map 87 to rezone one parcel of 60 acres from forest to timberland production zoning. The project is a legislative action and does not include any development at this time. The intent is to use the parcel for timberland preservation and a future Christmas tree farm, which is allowed in TPZ. The existing zoning designation is Forest, FR, a zone meant for protection, production, and management of timber and timber support uses. The Nevada County Timberland Production Zone, TPZ, is adopted pursuant to the Forest Taxation Reform Act of 1976. It's intended to provide for and encourage prudent and responsible timberland resource management. The TPZ district is a more restrictive district with fewer potential allowable uses than the FR zoning district, such as specific commercial and agricultural uses. The project parcel has no assigned address but is located off of Wilderness Road in Nevada City and is approximately 2 miles southeast of Banner Quaker Hill Road in unincorporated western Nevada County. The project parcel is in a very rural, low-density portion of Nevada County, Section 3, Township 16, North Range 10 East. The project parcel is mostly surrounded by large Forest 160 zoned parcels with a TPZX zoned parcel sharing the eastern property line. There are many other TPZX and TPZ 160 zoned parcels that surround the project parcel to the north and the south. The parcel to the northeast was rezoned from Forest to Timber Production Zone in 2004 by Z04013. There is a structure built on one of the adjacent parcels. Each of the parcels in the sections surrounding Section 3 are around 50 acres in size and are owned by either Sierra Pacific Land, U.S. Forest Service, and private landowners. These parcels in the surrounding sections are undeveloped. At present, the property has a small uninhabitable cabin, but is primarily undeveloped and has access through Wilderness Road. There is a 30-inch culvert already in place on the road system at the point of the crossing, and an unnamed watercourse which is a tributary to Greenhorn Creek. The forest stand is composed of Sierra mixed conifer species. The overstory is dominated by Douglas fir, white fir, incense cedar, and minor amounts of ponderosa and sugar pine. According to the Forest Management Plan, the property operated a timber harvest in 1993 and was harvested an unknown number of times in the 20th century. The cut that occurred around 1993 removed larger trees and provided better spacing of the residual intermediate trees left, which did maximize overall growth. The current landowners purchased the property in 2023. Between 1993 and 2023, the past land use of timber harvesting can be seen in a range of ages of the tree stumps still visible on the property. The only improvements on the land were the establishment or promotion of a road system on site. In order for the property to be considered for a TPZ district, the property must meet specific standards for the TPZ zone. Among the requirements for the inclusion into the TPZ district is the preparation and approval of a forest management plan, an FMP, prepared by a registered professional forester. The FNP must include a timber inventory that demonstrates that the site meets timber stocking standards set forth in the PRC section 4561, proof of regular commercial harvesting operations, proof of legal and physical access, disease and/or insect control, a thinning and slash disposal program, a fire protection program, and an erosion control program. The applicant's FMP does meet the requirements for the inclusion into the TPZ district. Other standards include, as set forth in Section 4561 of the Public Resources Code and the Forest Practice Rules adopted by the State Board of Forestry. Additionally, the parcel must be a Site 4 higher quality class. There are 5 general classes based on the ability of the site to produce wood growth on trees. Site 1 is considered most productive. Site 2 and 3 are sites of intermediate productivity. Site 4 and 5 are areas of low productivity. The project FMP contains the required timber inventory, demonstrating that the parcel meets the requirements for the inclusion into the TPZ district. The timber site class of the project site is a class 2 and 3, and the parcel exceeds the minimum average point of 150 per acre. The benefit of the applicant of rezoning into a TPZ district is the reduction in property taxes established by the reassessment of the land based on the growing and harvesting of the timber. The Nevada County Assessor's Office noted that the current assessed value of APN 065090004 is $200,000 as a Forest 160 property. The current taxes are $2,653.96 annually. With the approval of the requested rezone into the TPZ, it's estimated by the Nevada County Assessor's Office to reduce the assessed property valuation to $47,192, with the respective projected annual taxes of $1,059. This is based on the consideration of the parcel as a Site 2 inventory productivity classification, which the State Board of Forestry of Equalization lists as $93 per acre. As a result, the reduction in annual taxes would be $1,594.69. The TPZ zoning district is intended to provide land devoted to the growing and harvesting of timber and for compatible uses that do not significantly detract from the use of land for the devoted purpose through prudent and responsible forest resource management. Consistent with the intention of the district, the tax reduction resulting from the reassessment of the value based on reasonable expectation of harvest would allow continued use of the property for timber production as prescribed in the Forest Taxation Reform Act. This request is also consistent with the 2004 Board of Supervisors approval for the TPZ zoning of the southeastern parcel located within the same subdivision as the subject property. Staff routed the project to all applicable agencies for comment, and at this time, no adverse issues were identified, and all requirements for the inclusion into the TPZ district have been satisfied, as it is a legislative procedure. Standard conditions of approval do apply to ensure that the rezone is consistent with the TPZ standards. Staff does advise the applicant that any future development may require verifying the legality of the parcel, road standards, and a management plan. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission take the following actions. Recommend that the Board of Supervisors find the adoption of Timberland Preserve Zone statutorily exempt from the requirement to prepare an EIR or a negative declaration pursuant to Section 15264 of the CEQA guidelines, and the recommendation that the Board of Supervisors adopt the attached ordinance amending zoning district map number 87 to rezone APN 065-090-004 from Forest 160 to Timberland Production Zone 160 based on the findings contained within the ordinance. Thank you for your time, and here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McAteer, do you have any questions?
I'd love to hear if there's any public comment first, maybe, and then I'll ask a few questions.
Do we have the applicant here today?
We do.
But no planned presentation from the applicant?
No presentation from the applicant at this time, but he is here to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, then, do you have questions before public comment? All right, well then, let's move forward with public comment. If there's anybody that would like to speak on this issue, please approach the microphone and you'll have, state your name and where you live, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Doug Kersey. I've lived in the county since 1982. Terry McIntyre was one of my my son's teacher at Bear River. Did a great job.
Thank you.
And I want to express my appreciation that you guys give up your time to be commissioners and listen to testimony ad nauseum. I think I'd have to, well, it wouldn't be pretty. Anyway. And the young lady who did the presentation did a great job. Also, I don't know, Marianne Bolsey was present or is going to be present, but she wrote the article in the Union newspaper and did a great job, which has got me, John Q. Public, to step up and say something. I think this is an example of somebody just trying to do something with their property that's reasonable. Cut some trees down, make some money, creating lumber, create a job or two, and actually create something from raw materials, something that we've gotten away from in this county. When I first came to this county, it was just in the process of shutting down the lumber mills because of the spotted owl. 40 years later, we're blaming all these forest fires on global climate change, completely missing the point that we stopped almost all timber harvesting in this county for almost 40 years. This person, these people, whoever they are just trying to cut some trees down, make some lumber, and in the process, they reduce the density in the forest. And I, as John Q. taxpayer, I don't have to pay the county taxes to have the county pay to have somebody clean somebody else's property. I would ask that the commission approve the application to rezone the property, and that the commission would vote to not require a environmental impact study under CEQA. And I would say that this is a chance for local government to make some little small adjustment, some gain in people being able to do reasonable things with their own property. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any others?
Hello.
Pull it down to you. There you go.
That's better.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for everyone being here and allowing us to have public comment. I just want to read.
Go ahead and state your name and where you live.
Okay, Leilani Vivang, and I live in Penn Valley. I have 40 acres, and I'm concerned about protecting our county and doing my part also. So I'd just like to agree with the fellow that spoke before me, and I think it's important that people learn to see that many of our fire problems are a result of too much fuel that's left. And I've been to many meetings, and even the firefighters admit that you can throw lots of money and lots of fire equipment at this, but until we get the fuel down, we aren't going to be able to make a dent in protecting our county from these fires. So I would advise and support that this person is allowed to come in and change their zoning to TPZ and be productive with their land. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, seeing no one, we will close public comment at this time. Commissioner McAteer, if you have any questions.
I do, thank you. So, Alina, nice to have you here in the department. How long have you been with us now?
About 5 months.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, and hope to see you more in our hearings.
Yeah, look
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Thank you for your fine work on this. Yes, so I have a question. Does the current zoning allow for a tree farm, a Christmas tree lot or so, to be developed on it? I'm just trying to understand, outside of the property tax issue, what's the difference between these two designations?
It really is the property tax value, and the TPZ zone is a more restrictive zone, and so the Christmas tree farm and the timber harvesting is allowed in both zones, but other uses such as agricultural, commercial uses are more restrictive in the TPZ zone. I can't speak for the applicant, but if the applicant wanted to harvest for 10 or more years, it would be in their favor to have that tax reduction.
And the dwelling on the property, was that a habitable dwelling at some point or not? Or what you've been out there to the property?
I did not go out to the property, but I asked the applicant about the cabin, and they said it was very uninhabitable with bullet holes in it and just mouses everywhere, and so not maybe something they would even demolish in the future.
Okay, and I'll also note to the audience, I'm pleased by our unanimous support of bringing back a lumber mill back in Truckee, and so we now have a lumber mill coming back to Truckee because of our foresight. So that's the end of my questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Garth, do you have something?
Yeah, I have a couple of minor questions. One, just out of curiosity, how are taxes collected on trees harvested and sold from this property?
I believe that when the applicant goes through the timber harvest plan with CAL FIRE, they would have to report their harvestings to CAL FIRE, and at that time, that would be evaluated through the taxes as well.
Okay, and that timber harvest plan will be required for any work that they do harvesting trees on the property?
Yep.
And that does not go through the county at all, it's strictly through Cal Forestry?
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering if there were to be additional development proposed in the future, such as a residence, what does that process look like, and how does that affect this new designation?
Yeah, so residential family dwelling units is allowed in the TPZ zone. It would be kind of the same as any other building permit for a property. They would be subject to things like road standards and a management plan and those sorts of standards because it is in such a rural part of the county.
Okay. And then I heard one thing in your presentation that said that a legal access was required per PRC section 4561.
Yeah.
But then the language in the ordinance states that there is no guarantee that the parcels have legal access. Is there legal access to this parcel?
There is legal access to the parcel through Wilderness Road, shown in their grant deed on the property. And I can take a look later at the ordinance and see where that was misconstrued and maybe even amend it, so we can fix that.
There was another little typo that I noticed in the ordinance language in very end of section 2, that it refers to the water is available or that sewage can be disposed of on either parcel, and there's no guarantee that the parcels have legal access. So I think that just needs to be changed to a singular.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's all I have.
Okay, well, you guys took some of my questions, but I guess similar to the question about the harvesting, are anticipated sales or business taxes then anticipated for the county from the tree farm?
I would say most likely. As far as the taxes go, I'm not extremely familiar with how those are accrued and calculated, but.
Yeah, I mean, the county would exact property taxes, and so that's where the taxes would come from, but the commercial taxing would go through whatever entity that's appropriate.
Okay. And so then, is there an agency that has a preference for the TPZ over the forest designation?
can't say that there is an agency or a preference. It's the applicant's will to propose the TPZ zone, and it's the county's requirements that allows for that.
I mean, generally, it seems like if you wanted to do a Christmas tree farm, that you could do it now, or you can change it to TPZ, because TPZ then gives you a nominal decrease in your property taxes. Is there, outside of that kind of self-interest, is there any group or environmental, or, like you've said a couple of times that it is more restrictive? Is it more restrictive in a way that there are advocates for people to move their properties towards TPZ, or?
Chair Millman, I'm not sure that there's an advocacy for it, but the TPZ, the reason it preserves land is that there's a semi-arduous process to go out of the TPZ zone. Essentially, they have to petition to the Board of Supervisors to remove their property from the TPZ zone, and that starts a 10-year rollout process that they slowly, the taxes re-increase to what the prior use would have been or what they're proposing. So it's a longer-term commitment by the property owner to preserve their land for timber production and to use it for low-intensity uses, and not to upzone it, say, to like high-density residential or something like that. But there is a long process to actually get out of the TPZ zone.
So I have maybe a little bit of insight on this. The property that I bought here is zoned timber production zone, so I've done some research in this category. My understanding is that that is a state designation, and that it was their intention to maintain productive forest land. There are some development restrictions, such as setbacks are 100 foot for any structure versus 30 feet. Things like that, that just limit the density and the scope of actual development. That's my understanding, at least.
Yeah, I'd confirm that. And again, it's implemented by the county, so it's also a county zone.
So I initially understood TPZ as something that was more like a land trust kind of conservation easement, but this is actually something that sets it aside in order to make sure that there's timber for harvesting in the future. It's not so much a like natural land conservation zone.
That's correct. I mean,
Okay.
the technical term is timber production zone, TPZ.
My first clue. All right, well, thank you very much. Do you guys have any other questions on this?
I make a motion to approve, I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to find the adoption of the timberland preserve zones statutorily exempt from the requirements to prepare an EIR or negative declaration pursuant to Section 15264 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines.
I'll second that.
Could you take a vote, please?
Yes. How do you vote, Commissioner Garst?
Yes.
Commissioner McAteer?
Yes.
And Chair Millman?
Yes.
Thank you.
I now make a motion to, for the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, adopt the attached ordinance amending zoning district map ZDM number 87 to rezone APN 065090004 from Forest 160 to Timberland Production Zone 160, based on the findings contained within the ordinance.
I'll second that.
How do you vote, Commissioner Garst?
Yes.
Commissioner McAteer?
Yes.
And Chair Millman?
Yes.
Thank you.
And we'll note the typos in the ordinance. I will clean up before it goes to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes the public hearing for today. Thank you very much for caring enough to come out here today.
Thank you.
I was thinking I should have asked more questions while I had a moment to ask you stuff, just because I was curious, but we'll let you go. Thank you so much.
No, but he's a doctor at the hospital. Yeah, how do you know that? Where did you see that?
It said it somewhere. All right, so in spite of us trying to figure other stuff out up here, I guess, do we know, Brian, what's coming up?
Thank you, Chair Millman, and Happy New Year, Commissioners. Happy 2025. At this point, we do not have anything scheduled for an upcoming hearing with the Planning Commission, so it will not be in January for sure. It probably will likely be more of a March timeframe for a potential project, which may be a subdivision map or potentially the gas station down in South County in District 2. Those are still undergoing environmental review, and I believe the map is still incomplete. So at this time, we don't have anything scheduled, but we'll certainly keep you updated as things come along. I would give an update that we do hope to have 2 new commissioners, obviously by our next meeting, sooner rather than later. I believe Supervisor Tucker has made an appointment or a selection that will be appointed next Tuesday. And Supervisor Hook in 4th District is conducting interviews, I believe this week, with a couple of prospective candidates, which will hopefully be selected and appointed. So we'll have a full 5-person commission at our next hearing date. And once I get their names and information, I'll be reaching out to them and introducing them to you as well, at least through email communication, if not in person, if we have an opportunity before that. I also will note that an item that the Planning Commission voted on, the Tiny Homes on Wheels ordinance, is also scheduled for the board hearing on Tuesday, so in 5 days. And they will be hearing your recommendation with a couple of modifications that your Planning Commission made to the ordinance. And so, excuse me, we look forward to their consideration and hopefully adoption of the ordinance. Other than that.
And Brian, the cannabis ordinance, could you give me an update on the changes that were approved there?
So the cannabis ordinance was approved by the Board of Supervisors in December. I think it was December. It's all blurring together. Based on your recommendations, I think they accepted all of the proposed changes in terms of the recommendations that the Planning Commission made. It does allow 2 dispensaries, retail dispensaries in the county in North San Juan and Soda Springs location, as well as made some minor amendments to the other restrictions in the ordinance, which I'm forgetting the details now, but basically accepted all the recommendations of the Planning Commission, I believe. And so that's in effect currently, and our cannabis staff is working on the selection process and creating the selection committee in order to review prospective applications for a dispensary once we open up that RFP or that process, if you will.
And then how about your staff? I know you've lost some and all, so where are you currently on your staffing?
So currently we are almost completely full. We have 1 senior planner opening, and thank you, that's a good segue. We have 2 of our newest planners, other than Alina, who you met, but Justine Queeley is in the back, and she is a new assistant planner, and then Steve Geiger is our new senior planner. And we're excited to have them on board. They've just recently started within the last few weeks, so we're pretty close to fully staffed at this point.
Well, welcome, you guys.
I have 2 questions. If at the next meeting we approve the appointments, are those new commissioners able to then sit in on the remainder of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then is it possible to get an update on projects that are in the pipeline and the statuses of them, just as we have in the past?
Yes. We are updating that list currently, and we can send that out to you as soon as it's completed, which should be in the next day or 2. And then moving forward, we will include that in your packets. So apologize for the oversight on that.
And one other item is, you and I chatted about, Brian, is having something of a workshop when these 2 new members come on, so there's some, quote, team building and knowledge shared, because the knowledge base up here is not to denigrate our group, but shallow in history. We lost our greatest historian, so that would be appreciated.
Right. We will look for opportunities to kind of have a meet and greet and integrate that. We will also be doing a Brown Act training and kind of new commissioner training that we typically do at the beginning of each year. We didn't do it at today's hearing because we were hoping that we'd have 2 new commissioners real shortly. So hopefully at the next meeting, County Council office will be kind of given just a refresher course on Brown Act and Commissioner, what's in your purview, those types of things. So we'll have that in addition to maybe more of an informal meet and greet.
Great, thank you.
I think that's all for my report. If anybody has any questions, happy to answer them.
I think you've done us in. Okay. All right, I think this concludes our meeting.